Hello, good day, everybody. Welcome to our webinar, Unlocking the Potential of AI Essay Marking. Today, we're reimagining essay marking. With AI, it's simpler, more precise, and more personal. We're in exciting times with AI in education. For organizations, it's a game changer. It dramatically reduces grading time and costs for markers. For students, it gives personalized feedback that enhance learning outcomes. This technology isn't just a tool, it's redefining our approach to educational assessment. We have a great lineup of experts who will navigate through this AI tool. We're actually quite an international group here hosting this webinar. I am hosting it from Georgia, USA. We have Sojin Lee, first speaker, co-founder and CEO of Blees AI, and she is coming all the way from London for this webinar. And she will explain how the technology works, its challenges, and its suitability for your organization. Next, we'll hear from Andy Thomas, who is in Canada. He is the Vice President of Precertification Education at CPA Canada. Andy brings a unique perspective with a case study from the Chartered Professional Accountants of Canada, and he's demonstrating how AI marking is already a successful reality. And finally, we have the CEO of Cirrus Assessment, Vegard Sivertsen, and he is in Utrecht, Netherlands. And he's going to dive into the advances in digital marking. Here we witness a future where the advancements are not mere steps, but a leap forward. So with that, I will hand it over to Sojin Lee, co-founder and CEO of Blees AI. Take it away, Sojin.
All right, thank you so much, Cristina. So my name is Sojin Lee, and I'm the co-founder of Blees AI, and thank you for joining our webinar. I'm here with Andy and Vegard. So just to give you a little bit of background of myself and to introduce myself, I have been in credentialing industry for 11 years, and my career has started as CPA Canada, which is an accounting certification body, where I used to develop exams and facilitate markers training for essay scoring and collaborate with subject matter experts in content reviewing and etc. And now I found my own company, which is called Blees AI. We are an educational technology company that leverage AI to grade the students' essays automatically. And we specifically focus on domain-specific essay questions. Cristina mentioned that we will going to cover how it works and the benefit of using AI in grading, and also whether it's right for your organization. So since we are going to talk about the essay grading, I will start with essays. So if you are in education or credentialing industry, you probably already know the benefit of using essays. So essays are a great way to test higher order thinking skills of candidates and allow candidates to apply their knowledge in complex case situations, as opposed to multiple choice questions. Essays are great, but also they comes with the problems when they are marked manually. It's quite expensive to mark as student essays if it's marked manually. So most of our clients on average pays about $5 to $10 per script to be marked. And also some of the clients, they are paying about €20 per scripts to grade students' essays. And they credentialing organizations, they process a large volume of essays. For example, if I remember correctly, CPA Canada process about 350,000 scripts per year to grade their examinations and weekly homework assignments and etc. So credentialing organizations usually work towards very strict deadline to turn around students' results and also personalized feedbacks to them so that candidates can move on to the next course or whether they can prepare for the next exam sitting. And also what the last point is what our clients care the most, the quality of the marking. So it is quite challenging to ensure the consistency in marking, especially when they are managing large pool of the markers. So if I remember correctly, when I was working at CPA Canada, they had about pool of 150 markers across Canada. and they mark different assignments and exams, and it's quite difficult to manage every markers to be consistent and on the same page. So that's another challenge. So the next is our solution is to provide an AI platform that automatically grades students' essays. So first we trained and built AI model and grade at scale and provide personalized feedback. And then the next, the anticipated benefit of using AI is consistency. AI is not going to be tired. They can perform 24/7. And also the real data that we have done, the research project with CPA Canada will be presented by Andy, how AI performed when we put it in grading. So you will see how the performance of the AI shortly. And then it's 38 times faster than human marking. So human markers will take about 5 to 10 minutes to grade 2 to 3 pages long essays. However, AI can mark within 10 to 15 seconds. So it's much faster. And also there is, we identify that up to 60% cost saving opportunities for organizations when they adopt AI marking. So I'd like to explain how it works in a very high level. So there are 4 steps. So first step is data preparations. So first we process Excel, Word documents, and PDF. And outside of that, we need a little bit of data cleansing. So the credentialing in this organizations can send us the data, which is the student's script, through APIs, or they can send us through other means. And then once we get the data, we will upload them on our platform. And then the next step is data annotation. This is preparation for AI training. So we will set aside about 200 to 300 papers to train the AI. So what we do is on our platform, the markers can see the student's script, and then they can click each sentence and they can tag it to certain marking keys. So they will just read as a kind of normally how they would mark, and then they will click the sentence if it qualifies for a score, and then they will tag it to the marking keys that corresponding to that score. Once they do that, that's what they will see. And then in the background, what it does is it will classify each sentences that were annotated into a marking key. And then those ones that are not annotated will be classified as irrelevant sentences. So this is the way to show AI how the correct sentences would look like. The third one is the AI training. So we will build an AI, which will take about 5 to 7 hours. And then we will also create business logic. When we say business logic here, it means that it will translate whatever AI picked up as a correct sentence into a grade. So some of our clients use numerical based reporting. So they will use 80% out of 100% or 90 marks out of 100. Or etc. And some of them, they use letter base. It can be A plus A or B, or CPA Canada use reaching competent, for example, competent and etc. So there is a logic on top of AI, whatever AI predict as a correct sentence and translate into a mark, that's the output. Once we have decent AI that we like to have it going great, then we will send the rest of the paper through the simulation through the AI model. Then it will basically mark, we say it's a data prediction because it predicts whether it's a correct sentence. If it's a correct sentence, what marking key it is. So that's auto grading the scripts. So that's how it works in a nutshell. So it looks very easy and simple, but last few years we gathered all the challenges, and there are a couple of challenges that we need to address. And one of the challenges is the training data collection issues. So we said that about 200 to 300 papers will be enough to create a decent AI model. When we said decent AI model is when it's at the average marker level or close to that. However, when the candidate doesn't address certain testing topics, we will not have enough training data to show AI or show the AI the patterns or examples. So it can be because the testing topic is quite obscure, the candidate never expected that testing topic, or it can be the materials or their preparation to the exams, they never really studied that testing topic, for example. In that case, no matter how many scripts we have, we will not have enough training data. So that's one aspect that is challenging. The other part is it's time consuming to collect the data because we will still need to do a bit of pre-marking. So if you are in credentialing industry, you can think of like training the markers. You will read a couple of papers and select some of the papers that are appropriate for markers training. So that's similar to that. So we will need to do the pre-marking, and annotation sometimes can take a little bit of time. So that's a challenge. The second challenge is data annotation, and we select very competent senior markers to train the AI. However, we did that in kind of live setting with real markers on our platform. It was still at a pilot project, but still the real markers used our platform to train the AI. And we realized that we still need to do a little bit of more training, in-depth training for this subject matter experts, even though we replicated how AI training is compared to what we usually train the marker. There is a slight difference. So in the real marking, when you give a credit or score to the students, you probably skim through rest of the kind of section or part that you know the candidate is talking about. However, in the annotation, every sentence has to be determined whether it's a correct sentence or irrelevant sentence. Otherwise, AI can be mistrained. So that will take a little bit of longer time. And what we have measured was it takes about twice as long as usually how the markers will mark. So if markers take 5 minutes to mark the paper, it will take about 10 minutes to annotate. So that's, you can consider that as a kind of benchmark. The other area, it's not a really challenge, but it's coming down to us. You probably heard of ethical AI or AI regulations. So it passed down to us that the clients are asking us to ensure that AI is unbiased and explainable. So so we are working on that, and this is a huge area in AI space, and there are companies just focusing on that area as well, unbiased AI. So that's another challenge that we need to go through to adapt the automated essay scoring. Yeah. So Blees AI, we have been doing some of the research and development, and we collaborated with some of the universities, University of Toronto and Toronto Metropolitan Universities. And we just completed a study with Toronto Metropolitan University on few-shot learning. So what's a few-shot learning is to limit the number of data required to train the AI. So instead of like, I mentioned that it requires about 200 to 300 papers to train the AI. Instead of 200 to 300 papers, we require about 50 papers to create, deliver the same results. How we do that is we leverage large language model, pre-trained large language model. You probably heard of ChatGPT. ChatGPT is one of the large language models. So it's way more smarter than previous versions of AI, and it's already good at comprehending the language. And then we fine-tune them with the domain domain contents. So AI is ready for marking, and then we optimize that from there. So it requires less data, and then compared to what we used to do. We haven't done in the real production setting, but this study has been done in the lab environment, and we see that quite successful results. So we are continue working on that. And the other one that we are working on is the programmatic labeling. This is to reduce the time required for annotation and the time and effort. So as I mentioned, annotation is not as consistent as what we hoped for. So what it does is AI pre-annotate the data, so less mistake, and then it's faster. And then the human markers will have to verify whether yes or no, this sentence is correct or not, make a decision. So it will reduce the time and effort in labeling. So instead of having like the subject matter experts go through each sentences and then tag them, AI will do that before. So that's programmatic labeling. And then third, the augmented training data set. So this is, again, we leveraging large language model like a ChatGPT. So we give real students response and then create similar sentences that doesn't change the content. So for example, like if you give ChatGPT one student response and create maybe 100 responses similar to that without changing the content, it will probably do that using like synonyms or different sentence structures. However, we haven't found the happy medium yet. So when we give a lot of augmented training data instead of the real data, AI is starting to be producing skewed results. So it's liking the way AI would produce. So AI liking the way it will do it. So yeah, so that's why it's kind of AI suddenly become very tough marker, and then ignoring all the real sentences that candidates would write. So that's why we are looking to have a happy medium, that how much of portions we can leverage augmented data to create the results that we are expecting. So that's that's the R&D that we are working on. So for this one, we are also working on AI explainability. This is actually funded by European Union to deliver unbiased and transparent AI. So we will be leveraging Lime and Chat. So what it is give the explanations for how AI made the decisions. So it can be a detective tool that showing every factor, all the factors that used to influence the AI decision. So it will give some explanation. So AI is not remained as a black box. The other part that we are working on is we are collaborating with Cirrus and to create end-to-end e-assessment platform with AI capability. So we realize that we are not e-assessment platform company, and we don't have that experience in designing seamless user interface. And Cirrus has been working on this for last 15 years, and we thought that the best way is to collaborate with other partners and create this platform together. So that's what we are working on. So is automated essay scoring right for you? There are a few considerations that you can think about. So first of all, machine readable format candidate response. So as I mentioned, we process Word document, Excel, and PDF. However, sometimes candidates take picture of their computer screen, or they take picture of their scribbles or their handwriting. Those are very difficult to convert into digital format. So you will need to have digital format of student scripts. And then the second one is large volume of cohort. This is for you to take advantage of the AI marking. So as I mentioned, we will need about 200 to 300 papers to train the AI. And then we also need to have about 100 to 200 papers to test and validate AI performance and then optimize that. So upfront, you already need about 500 papers to start with. So in order for you to take advantage of AI marking, you will need to have more than 500, for example, to grade students' essays. If you don't have a large volume of cohort, there are another use case that if you use your exams or formative assessments multiple times, then it will also work. So if you use the exams multiple times before retire, then you can use first cohort as a, their scripts can be used as a AI modeling. And then after that, rest of the course, you can use the AI to grade the students' essays. That's suitable for your organization. Objective answers. This is more applicable to what Blees focus on. Other organizations, they do more open-ended and, sometimes other type of questions like our English or language exams. However, what we have been focused on is domain specific essay questions. So we're looking for the essays that have right or wrong answers, or at least a better list of the answers that acceptable or not acceptable. My co-founder loves this example, and I always use it. If you ask candidate to describe how was your vacation in Paris, that will be a lot of different answers. But if you ask describe Eiffel Tower, there will be right or wrong answers. Can explain height or shape or etc. Directed questions. This is not a must. But if you have directed questions, it's easier. We have done with the CPA Canada non-directed questions where simulation doesn't ask specific questions and candidate has to come up with the answers that they found as a problem. But if it's a very specific focused questions, the answers will be very specific. So it will be easier for AI tomorrow. And then again, institutions embracing education technology. Quite important to have that open-minded because the AI is still in an early stage. If you think about like internet, in 2000, it's very slow, but now we are all together here in the webinar from multiple different countries coming together here. So AI will advance, but we are at the very early stage and it's not perfect. So open to embrace the technology. So that's the mindset that we are looking for. How I see as a future of the AI marking is obviously as the language model performance increase, we expect to have more improved accuracy and consistency and transparency to explanatory models and instant feedback to the students. So learning loop will be improved. So candidates will get the response or feedback right away before they forget about their exams. And the credentialing industry can increase number of exams that they offer because candidates will receive don't have to wait for their results, but they can get the results and then they can go back to exams if they need to and sign up for the next course, etc. So whenever they are ready, they can take the exams, so the exam frequencies can be increased. Cost reduction for organizations, as mentioned, it's up to 60% cost saving opportunities for the credentialing industry, which we hope to pass on to the candidates, where we can give more affordable and accessible exam cost to the students, and integration of AI and human grading will be future of AI marking. I don't see AI will replace the human markers, but I will see it more as kind of assistant tool and helping the human graders to be consistent and easier to mark the exams. So that's how I see as a future of marking.
Thank you so much, Sojin. Yes, so there is a question. Thank you, Paula, for your question. She says, hi, a UK regulator prohibits sole marking by the AI. There must be human judgment involved. In your experience, does the human judgment add value or just reinforce the AI outcomes?
I still see that human judgment is necessary. So especially when AI marks kind of gray area, like where borderline pass or fail, that has to be confirmed by AI, the human markers. In my opinion, a clear pass or clear fail usually performance AI is pretty good, and we can trust that. And again, the regulations are coming, and it's quite different every quarter, and we are working through to meet that regulations.
Okay, thank you so much. That is all. And we are going to move on to Andy Thomas from CPA Canada.
Hello, everyone, and it's great to be here. So so I'm Andy Thomas. I'm not a technology guru. I'm the vice president of Precertification education at CPA Canada. And as Sojin pointed out, we used to be colleagues. So Sojin and I used to work together. So it's nice to see you again, Sojin. The CPA Canada is the professional organization that regulates and obviously professional accountants in Canada. We're the third largest professional accounting body in the world. We have 20 to 30,000 students at any given time within our education program, which leads eventually to the CPA. So many of our exams, for example, are quite high stakes, or we think they are anyway. So that just gives you a little bit of background on us. What this is for us is we started this journey about 3 years ago. Sojin and I actually met at a Starbucks, and she was talking about this concept about automated essay scoring because she knew how we marked and the challenges that we had with our case-based or essay-style questions. And we talked this through, and it sounded very interesting. And so we proceeded to develop a kind of a phased-in project plan, and we've been moving pretty cautiously over the last 2 or 3 years. But this is kind of our tagline for our governance folks. Is automated essay scoring is an AI engine that utilizes machine learning to computer grade written responses, such as essays, constructed response items, or cases. In our case, in our situation, it's primarily cases. So we oftentimes will give our students a scenario 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pages long, and embedded within that scenario will be several different requireds. So unlike like a university exam that might have a STEM or a scenario and then have pointed questions, we don't have those pointed questions. It's up to the students to figure out what the required is. And so we consider our cases quite non-directed. And I know that has caused complexities for the AI system, which they've managed to overcome, which has been great. If I use the word Terry throughout this presentation, it's because we call our AI engine Terry. It's just the name we gave it when we started to develop our AI engine. The rationale for automated essay scoring, and I think Sojin's been through many of these things, but we just for in our case, this is what we've provided in our project plan to provide consistent results and feedback. And I'll get into the feedback point a little bit more because that's a really interesting point for us. To provide timely feedback to students. I think probably most of you are aware that research out there is quite strong that providing timely feedback to students is very helpful with the learning process. Obviously, we want to reduce hours of human facilitation. So our facilitators, and I'll get into what those are in a few minutes, can add value elsewhere. Reduce human marking costs significantly, although that's not the primary goal of this project. Is certainly an outcome that we take advantage of. Obviously, given the size of our organization, we have some scale opportunities. And so we want to take advantage of those scale opportunities, which some of our competitors cannot do. And then provide another potential assessment aid for something. We're redeveloping our pre-certification program. And so this may be able to help with that as well. So on to the project itself. So we started back in fiscal 2021 with what we called phase 0. And really this was the proof of concept. And what what this was when we teamed up with Blees AI. We developed a prototype, Terry, and we utilized. So we have a lot of data, and that's why we teamed up with Blees, because they needed the data and we needed the technology. So it was a nice match. So we utilized what we call Core 1, which is one of our professional level examinations, and we used the scripts from the December 2018 PEP examination. We use those for a specific reason, but the responses were about 3 to 5 pages in length, and we put those through Terry. Now, Terry had to be developed. Terry had to be developed at that point. So we used 200 scripts to develop and train Terry. We used 200 scripts for validation, and then we used 200 scripts as a blind audit. And these are the results of the blind audit. So what happened was, after we put all the scripts, which of course were real scripts, through this, the anonymized scripts, we put them through Terry. And then in 83.8% of the cases, Terry was consistent with the human markers. And I should say, when we're talking human markers here, we use a double marking and then blind arbitration process. So what that means is we mark one human marks it, a second human marks it blind, and then those results, if there's any differences, are arbitrated. So it's a very robust process, but very expensive and time consuming, as Sojin pointed out. So the consistency between Terry and the markers was about 83.8%. And then what we did was we said, okay, where Terry and the ultimate human grade differed, we arbitrated those differences and said who wins and who loses. And Terry won in about 40.8% of the cases, and the human won in about 58% of the cases. There were some times where they didn't match at all, but so that gives you an idea of how good Terry was. And by the way, that would have been an acceptable range for us in the human world. So that was phase 0. Then we moved on to the next page is Terry phase 1. So after phase 0, we regrouped a little bit, and we decided that this might be better, this technology might be more appropriate within our education program itself. So these aren't module end examinations. These are weekly case assignments that our students are expected to do at scale. And the reason why we went to the education side in the weekly case assignments was a few reasons. First of all, the risk was a little bit less in terms of providing results to the students, because it was simply, it didn't count towards their final grade. This was them preparing, them learning, etc. But the other thing it did was we used these case assignments within the education program time and time again. So once we had an AI engine that works, we could just simply use that AI engine moving forward, as long as the case in the weekly assignment didn't change. So that provided us more opportunities to basically leverage the upfront costs with Terry. So then we go through marking workshops as we use our best markers to train Terry. And the other thing that this did was we recognized that if we wanted to provide automated marking as part of the education program, we needed to provide feedback as well, automated feedback to our students to help them improve, because this is all about formative assessment. So we did that, and we did some feedback, some automated feedback, and we worked on that for a while in terms of how to do that. And then we refined the assessment engine. It took us about 380 papers in this case. We used 212 scripts for the blind audit, and these are the results. And so understand that for Core 1, when our weekly assignments, we have hundreds of facilitators across the country. So those facilitators, getting them consistent is a real challenge. And so 62.5% of the time, there was consistency between the facilitator and Terry when we looked at the results. But the good part is Terry's win-loss percentage was substantially better than the human facilitators. So the win-loss percentage for Terry was over 70%, and that means the human facilitators, the win-loss was less than 30%. And overall accuracy of Terry was over 88%, as you can see there. So those results are very impressive from a win-loss, from a Terry quality perspective, and it's clear that Terry outperformed the average facilitator. In terms of the personalized feedback, That's an area that we need to keep working on. It did give good feedback, and we're trying to understand if it's as good as an average facilitator, and we're still working on that. And so we needed to do another phase. So next page is phase 2, which is ongoing, but it's pretty close to being the end. The results essentially are very similar to phase 1. We added a couple things in phase 2 just because we thought Blees, needed more challenges. One thing was we used Excel because we're accountants, so we like numbers. So we added the Excel, so they had to drag in the Excel information and be able to mark that as well. And then we wanted to enhance the feedback, as I said on the last slide, is because our feedback we thought could use some improvement. So we worked a little bit harder on the feedback that we could give to Terry so that it could produce that for our students. This is our plan for next year, and we're going to start this, we think, next month, actually in January. So we're going to start using this live with a real cohort of students within our education program, and part of that is just to make sure that everybody else within our infrastructure is comfortable with the technology. So we want to make sure, and again, there's a lot of privacy concerns and legal issues, well, not issues, but legal things you have to think about, and so we've done all that with this phase. We want to make sure we can provide that AI marking and high quality personalized feedback to our candidates, address any challenges during phase 1 and 2, optimize our AI infrastructure so we can reduce our investment and upfront. And there you can see the other things there. The platform, we need to want to make sure we can enhance that and upgrade that and make sure it's optimal. For us, it was important that the Blees platform was integrated in our T environment for privacy and other reasons, and then train our staff, CPAC staff, that stands for CPA Canada staff, on using the Blees platform. So eventually we could do this ourselves, so that wouldn't require Blees intervention. So this is the last slide. So just each phase of the project has 5 milestones or metrics that we use to measure performance. And I wanted to bring these up because I want you to understand this is not all about cost for us. So the workshop completion happens and we get our feedback and our senior markers are happy. We mark through AI. Then we do our marking assessment, our metric versus human. So we make sure, and this is critical for us, one of our metrics in our project is the AI has to mark better than the human, not just as good. It has to be better than the human at marking. And so far we've been seeing that in phase 1 and phase 2. And then the feedback assessment, our metric is the feedback has to be at least as good as the average human. And so it's a little bit different metric, but we want to make sure that we're not disadvantaging the students. And then, of course, after every phase, we have a lessons learned document, which we use to create our new phase. So for us, it's not all about cost. It's about quality. It's about timely feedback for the students and enhancing our education program.
I have a question for you, Andy. Thank you. What has been the response from students?
So as of now, the first 3 phases have all been done behind the scenes. Like I said, we're being a little bit cautious here. And that's what the next phase is about. So we're going to roll it out to real live students in January, and then we're going to survey them. And we're gonna figure out what their perception is of this. So because that's a great point. We've been quite cautious, making sure this works, and making sure we're not going to disadvantage students. So there's also we've had to inform students that we're going to do this because there's all these ethical issues, of course, with AI. So we'll find that out in the next phase.
Thank you very much. Are there any other questions? From Paula, thank you very much. Hi, Andy. Did you have a dedicated team to work on this project? Different to the business as usual activity team? Interested in how you organized yourselves.
The answer to that is no. We pulled people off that are usually, so I'll use the names, Donna Gunn, who works on the Core 1 stuff, and she's a regular person that oversees that marking process. So no is the answer. We just kind of pulled people in as we needed them. And quite frankly, it's quite an exciting project. So it was not hard to get people excited about this. And the other thing I'll say, because generative AI came up, the generative AI collaboration and the what generative AI may mean for education is unbelievably huge as well. So we're really looking forward to that.
Thank you very much. Okay, I think we will move on. Thank you again, Andy. That was a really great presentation. And we are on to the last, but not least, Vegard Sivertsen, founder and CEO of Cirrus. Take it away.
Thanks, Sojin. Thanks, Andy. It's going to be hard to top these very interesting presentations, but I'll try. So, what we at Cirrus always believed is that technology is meant to help people do things more efficient and improve quality and save time. And what we're doing together with Blees AI fits right into this narrative. And the project that we're doing with Blees is actually a twofold project. So the first part of the project is to generally do a complete revamp of our current marketing tool. And the second part is to build the integration between the two systems. So we have more than 10 years of data on how our users are using our marketing tool. And we have taken all that data, we have gathered it, we have talked to people, we have discussed internally, we have looked at market trends, and we basically decided to completely rewrite the whole marketing tool. And we set the bar pretty high for this one. Our goal was to create the best grading / marketing tool in the universe. And that's where we start. And how are we going to do that? So first of all, it needs to be both simple and advanced. And I'll explain a little bit what that means. So we have an incredible diverse group of users. We have users that have very simple workflows, one marker, that marker does everything. And that person wants complete freedom during marking, like changing the rubrics, changing the max scores, etc. But we also have customers that have complex marking workflows with dual markers, with moderation, with sample moderation, quality assurance of the markings, etc. So we need to make sure, or we needed to make sure that we catered for both of these types of users. Secondly, we wanted the marking experience to be a social experience where markers could collaborate with each other, learn from each other, see what the other markers were doing, and yeah, basically have a more collaborative experience during marking. Also, feedback is an important part of marking. So we're adding multiple ways of giving feedback to candidates, both written feedback and oral feedback. So you can record feedback that will be able to be played back by the candidates. And last but not least, to make marking even more efficient, we're building the integration with Blees AI to utilize machine learning in speeding up the marking process. So what you see here is you're probably among the first in the world to see this. This is fresh from the press. It's the new marking screen that we have completely redesigned, and yeah, basically making it a very, very efficient tool to mark large amounts of script. So obviously, when you mark huge amounts of scripts, you need the interface to be efficient. You need to be able to use keyboard shortcuts. You need to be able to quickly navigate through the candidates. You need to be able to quickly see who you have marked, who needs to be marked. You need to be able to score by criteria or rubrics, etc., etc. As I mentioned earlier, we have done a lot of smaller improvements. We call them quality of life improvements that will just make the lives of the markers more enjoyable while marking. Everything from navigation, more efficient navigation, to more efficient collaborating between the markers, giving feedback to the candidates, etc. So an important part of working with Blees, and that this was one of the foundation that we set when we started working with Blees, is that the workflow of the markers shouldn't change. They should be able to mark like normal, like how they would mark without the use of AI. And while the markers are marking in the background, the language model is learning from the marker's behavior. So what you can see here on the right is a typical annotation. So you highlight a piece of or a sentence from the candidate. You give feedback. You assign that feedback to a criterion, and by doing that, the system or the AI starts to recognize certain sentences that you're looking for in the candidate responses. So he knows that these type of responses are connected to these type of criterion. And when you have done this a number of times, and this is something you would have done anyway by just marking normally. And by doing this a number of times, the AI assistant at one point asks you, or basically states, I have enough information to go on. Do you want me to take over marking of the remaining candidates? So this is the marker facing interface. And as you can see, there is no difficult technology exposed to the markers. They don't have to know anything about AI. They only have to do their marking, and the AI assistant will then ask to take over at a certain point. So this is a very brief overview of the new grading or marking tool in Cirrus, and we would be happy to show you more, like more in detail on what we're doing with the new marking, and especially the combination with Blees AI. So if you have any questions or want a more in-depth demo of this grading tool, then please let us know, and we can schedule a more personalized, detailed demo. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Vegard. Okay, that is the end of all of the panelists' presentations. We have a question. Thank you. When will this be available in Cirrus? Vegard?
Yeah, so we are already starting to do the preliminary work. So the design phase is done. We're finalizing the specifications, and we will start developing in January. And we expect it to be completed somewhere in Q2 next year. So within the next 6 months.
Great. Thank you very much. Any other questions? Yes, thank you very much. Do we have to budget extra funds for this feature?
So the Cirrus marking capability is obviously an integral part of the Cirrus end-to-end platform, including item banking, assessment creation, delivery, and all of that. So that will be no extra cost for it. The AI engine on top of that will have an additional cost, since it's something that is developed by Blees.ai. Maybe you, Sojin, can tell something about pricing for that?
Well, first of all, the project funding, we have got funded by European Union. I just mentioned very briefly about it. And Cirrus and the Blees AI and Chartered Accountants Island are created a consortium to create this end-to-end e-assessment platform, and we have got funding for that. And for the pricing, you mean pricing of essay scoring? Yes, so it's really depending on the length of the scripts, and more importantly, like what's the marking keys, how complicated they are. So we usually do a pilot project to assess that complexity, and then in order to for you to adopt, you want to be comfortable with the AI performance. So clients usually ask for a pilot project as well. So in that phase, we can give you a quote, but at the moment, it really depends on your volume and your complexity of the case and etc. However, what we envisioning is we see that kind of tier type. So 1 to 1,000 candidates, we can charge amount of X, and then 1,000 to 2,000 or etc. So we see the tier based pricing in that.
Yes, thank you very much. Yes, we do have other questions from Cristina. Do we know the number of scripts needed to be corrected before AI suggests to take over? Or will this depend on each assessment?
So it really depends on the assessment. So so far what we have done with a couple of institutions, about 200 to 300 papers annotated is quite decent. We can create this in a AI model. We need a minor tricks, or sometimes it requires a little bit of optimizations, but 200 to 300 is what you can expect. Depending on the complexity of the case, we might need a little bit more. As I mentioned, sometimes, if the testing topic is very obscure, candidate may not address that often, then we will require a little bit more data. So that's the guideline that I can give. Yeah.
Okay, we have another couple of questions. Have you experienced backlash from markers as they might feel they are being replaced by machines and won't get paid?
It's a good question. So the way we're trying to position this, and the way we are positioning this is, so our facilitators that will be, it replaced is a tough word. What we're trying to say is the facilitators add value in other areas, and the marking and the feedback is not a value add for them. To support the candidates to do other things for the candidates is really important for the candidates. So we're actually moving their responsibilities more into the support role and less into the more the marking role. So we're just shifting their responsibilities. And yes, some of our markers are spooked about this before you explain why you're doing it and what this is going to look like on the other side. So yeah, there is a change management piece there for sure.
Thank you very much, Andy and Sojin. We have one more question here from Detkin. In higher education, we have various disciplines. How does the piloting work then?
I think that's for you, Sojin.
Various disciplines. So you mean like different subjects or different? Yeah. So far, we have focused on accounting and finance. We had to start from somewhere, and then that's where I have my expertise. And as I mentioned, we are focusing on more of domain-specific areas where AI can classify whether it's correct answers or not correct answers. So as long as that is there as a condition, then we will be able to mark even if it's different domain. So we will train the AI with different domain contents, and then we will train the AI in a kind of similar using the similar methodology.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you so much to Sojin Lee from Blees AI. Thank you so much to Andy Thomas from CPA Canada for joining us. And thank you again to Vegard Sivertsen. It's been really interesting, and it's really good to hear a case study from this. And I hope everybody enjoyed it. Again, we are recording, so you will get a recording of this afterwards. And if you have any more in-depth questions, please feel free to email us as well. Thank you very much, and hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Bye.